response to heightened tension in the region following the controversial return of Alhaji Saidu Abagri to Boko. The situation has raised fears that the recent violence could further destabilize the Kusak traditional area, which has experienced periodic unrest due to the contest leadership in Boko. The recent unrest follows an attempt to enforce a High Court arrest warrant against Abagri, who was schemed as a rival chief last year, a move that was strongly condemned by the government as a threat to national security. Efforts to arrest the palace of the Nairi in the Narirugu, stirring tensions between rival factions, and of course political observers and security analysts fear the conflict may undermine the conduct of the upcoming election. As the violence continues, calls for peace and immediate resolution grow urgent amid fear of further bloodshed in the region. Security analyst Adib Sani has raised grave concern, warning that unchecked tension in the Boko region could provide fertile ground for terrorist groups. According to him, the long-standing tension within Boko present an increasing security threat that could destabilize the region further and impact national safety. In an interview on ABC News, he warned that terrorist groups often capitalize on such tensions to establish footholds, recruit locals, and expand their networks.
In the region, which we are neighbors with, the Sahel is the most affected region by terrorism in terms of the number of attacks, in terms of the number of deaths. And it accounts, as a matter of fact, for over 40% of attacks globally. This is further exacerbated by the many unresolved chieftaincy and land disputes we have all across the country, because there's always a possibility that terrorists will take advantage to establish sort of a foothold within a territory where there is lawlessness, because that's where they love. They love where there is confusion. There's always that tendency of terrorism, thriving. And the region, which we are neighbors with, the Sahel, is the most affected region by terrorism.
In light of rising concerns surrounding recent conflict in Boko, Palvik Boachi Dankwa, the government spokesperson on security, has clarified that the escalating tensions in the region are not due to terrorism but rather rooted in long-standing chieftaincy dispute. According to him, the current incident of violence in the region is as a result of chieftaincy dispute and not activities of terrorism, as been speculated by some residents and media outlets, as there is no evidence to suggest foreign or organized terrorist groups are involved. His comment comes on the back of a violent incident which unfolded on Sunday, October 27, and led to the tragic death of 2 persons in the locality.
What is happening in Boku are clear issues of chieftains, and anyone that has been following the Boku crisis is very aware that there are 2 Boku Nabes that have been installed. There's one that is legal, and there's one that is an illegal installment, and we have been following that over the years. And in recent times, just about a week or 2 ago, we had very clear intelligence that the illegal Boku Naba who has been installed has come back into the community. And so we perceived that there would be escalations of this nature in the few days forthcoming. And so we are not surprised with what we have seen. But we are very clear in our mind with the directives that have been given by the Ghana Police Service to ensure that peace, security, and stability is remained within the environs of Boku. Mr. The record straight.
Meanwhile, the government spokesperson on security, Dr. Palvik Boachi Dankwa, has revealed that the government will not engage or negotiate with any terrorist when it comes to fighting terrorism. Speaking on ABC in the morning, he said that the fight against terrorism is a global phenomenon and one that the government is committed to fighting in order to achieve its goal of having a peaceful country.
Dankwa Kufuor, who is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, together with the sector minister, the Honorable Ken Dapa, very clearly, we don't negotiate with terrorists. I mean, it's on a need-to-know basis. We don't even engage terrorists at all. Our primal goal is to ensure that the country is peaceful. Our primal goal is to ensure that properties are secured. Our primal goal is to ensure that our borders are serene. And we have a lot more intelligence officers that are on the ground doing a lot of campaign and conversations around the See Something, Say Something initiative that was launched 2 years ago to ensure that people continually report untoward events and circumstances and situations that they see within their environment. And so we don't negotiate and conversations around the See Something, Say Something initiative that was launched 2 years ago to ensure that people continually report untoward events and circumstances and situations that they see within their environment. And so we don't negotiate with terrorists at all.
Well, let's have a conversation on this. Joining us on the line is the Member of Parliament for the Zebula East constituency, Cletus Avoka, to help us understand the situation in the Boko enclave. Good afternoon, sir. We have learned that the recent clashes are occasioned by the return of Alhaji Saidu Abagri to Boko after the Kumasi High Court quashed his arrest warrant on October 17, 2024. Do you believe the High Court could have done much better, especially with the tension that are still high?
Well, it's not the High Court. I think it's the Court of Appeal sitting in Kumasi. In fact, it was the Bolgatanga High Court that had imposed a warrant of arrest on him. So the case was appealed from the High Court in Bolgatanga to the Court of Appeal in Kumasi. So it is actually the Court of Appeal in Kumasi. But having regard to the substance of the matter, I think it is the lifting of the quashing of the warrant of arrest on Abagre's head, and then his subsequent return to Boku as a Rabat Bokunaba that has caused this conflict. And then I don't, legally, yes, the people could appeal to the Court of Appeal, but I know that this is a security matter. It's not just a chieftaincy matter, it's a security matter, because there's no chieftaincy matter like we have been saying in Boku. The Bokunaba, the Keren Bokunaba, has been there since 1986. In fact, 1984. And then registered at both the regional National House of Chiefs and gazetted in 1986. So he has been there for 42 years as a chief, uninterrupted. Then 2021 comes, and for whatever reasons the Mamprisi had, facilitated by government, they managed to go to Nalerugu, and then out of, I don't know, negligence, inefficiency, or complicity, the government allowed Abagre to be esteemed as chief by Nairi. The government sat by and allowed the appeal to be heard in Kumasi without representation on the part of government, because this government that issued the warrant of arrest. And then when the appeal court quashed the warrant of arrest, we drew the attention of national security, then the Attorney General, that if they don't take remedial measures and the man goes back to Boku, there will be conflict. We told them so. They knew. They didn't even need to be told. Minister for National Security Coordinator, Attorney General Department, everybody knew. Everybody in government knew that this was going to be the result. And they sat back. And lo and behold, Abagre went back to Boku with pomp and pageantry, sitting in state as a Rava Bokunaba. It's lawlessness. It's not chieftaincy matter, it's lawlessness. Government has allowed lawlessness to prevail. That is all. And we are losing so many lives. The whole of Walla Walla stretch. No bus comes from Boku passing there, and they will search, identify Kusasis or Kusasi sympathizers and kill them. No lorry comes from the south, Accra, Kumasi, etc., from Tamale, passing through Walla Walla to Bolga and whatnot. They will search, take their ID cards. If you have a Kusasi name, then they will search and kill you. I understand that by today they have killed about 11, 12 people.
Honorable, just as you're trying to paint a picture to us,
and then burn some other vehicles. It's lawlessness. If the thing is happening on the streets of Walla Walla, there's a police station there. For hours, no intervention. And people have a field day killing people. Is there a government in Ghana? Is there a government? Is there security? Lawlessness.
Honorable, can you paint to us the urgency of the situation and what your constituents are currently grappling with as it stands now? Just as you also have described that there's lawlessness, and you're also telling us that lots of people have lost your life. Just kindly paint the picture to us what your constituents also are grappling with at your constituency, please.
What do we do? What?
I was trying to find out from you how the urgency of the situation and your constituents also what they currently are grappling with.
Oh, there is a lot of fear and panic and insecurity in the Kusa traditional area. There are 6 constituencies in the area which are under the Bokunaba, the head chief of the Kusasa area. There we have the Zebila constituency, Binduri, Boku Central for that matter, Kusiga, Timpani, and then Garu. The issue involves these people because they have one paramount chief who is being threatened. So if we threaten the paramount chief, then all their divisional chiefs under the paramount chief and everybody is affected in one way or the other. And more so when the violence has escalated beyond even the Upper East region to the Northeastern region, which is a Mampudi enclave, where they are ambushing Kusazis and killing them. It's taking a wider dimension. And the challenge is that Boku shares border with 2 foreign countries, Burkina Faso and then Togo. You are aware that Burkina Faso, half of Burkina Faso is occupied by dissidents, and jihadists and extremists.
Honorable, your colleagues on the other hand, the other end, the NPP parliamentary candidate for Zebila and Boku Central have also suspended their campaign following the resurgence of this violence in the area. Do you fear the election in the area may not happen if the situation is not, contained?
The election must happen. The election should happen. We will do everything possible to contain the situation so that the election can happen. The people must be made to express their franchise. They must be made to express their choice during the election. We know that maybe one of the reasons is to thwart the efforts of the people. You cannot prevent the people from taking part in the general election. So whatever the antics they do, we will make sure that the election come on. And then the choice of the people must prevail.
Honorable, before I let you go, what would you say should be the immediate short-term measure to bring calm to the area in this conflict, even as we work on the long-term resolution? We know that this is not the first time we actually getting such report from that area.
The government for that matter, national security must be up and doing. They must be responsive. I don't know why this lackadaisical attitude. Whether it is complicity, whether it is inefficiency or incompetence, I cannot tell. Because they know that as once the court appeal had lifted the arrest warrant, Abagre will go back to Boku. And once Abagre went there as a chief and not as a commoner, there will be conflict. They didn't take remedial action. So I think that as of now, we the opinion leaders in the Kusas area are appealing to the youth to try and then contain the situation. The most important thing is the thumbprint. Because there's no way you can fight and get what you want. Let's have peace and harmony in the area. We should stop killing each other for nothing. You can't kill people and become a chief. So we are appealing to the youth to exercise restraint in the midst of this extreme provocation by the Mamprisi and aided by the government.
All right, Honorable. Thank you so much for your time.
We expect that security will also be up to their responsibility. So the combined effect of restraint from the youth of the area, the Bokunama and the people of the area, together with the responsiveness of the security, will contain the situation, and there will have peaceful elections.
Thank you so much for your time. He is the MP for Zebila. We just spoke to Cletus Avoka, who apparently has expressed his worry ahead of the 2024 election. Still on the election, Aguna West NPP constituency Nasara coordinator Haruna Rashid and 3 other individuals believed to be from the camp of the independent candidate Cynthia Mamile Morrison have been shot and have sustained various levels of injuries following violent clashes between supporters of the NPP, and Cynthia Morrison in the Aguna West constituency. According to report, Haruna Rashid, the Aguna West NPP Nasara coordinator, is in critical condition. The incident occurred around 9 p.m. in Aguna Nyakrum in the central region, while Rashid was traveling with the convoy of Aguna West NPP parliamentary candidate Chris Arthur, according to the police sources. Supporters of Chris Arthur and Cynthia Morrison are rival candidates, and they encountered each other while campaigning in the same area. Now, tensions reportedly escalated when Mr. Arthur's convoy encountered a roadblock allegedly set up by Ms. Morrison's supporters. As the convoy attempted to turn away, shots were fired, and Rashid, who also served as Mr. Arthur's campaign manager, was struck in the ribs. Chris Arthur recounted the incident, explaining that as they neared the Nyakrum township, they encountered the blockade, and Mr. Arthur described how he identified individuals first poured alcohol on their driver, causing him to lose control before two men approached and shot Rashid. Rashid was initially rushed to the Aguna Swedru Municipal Hospital and has since been transferred to Kolebu Teaching Hospital for further treatment due to the severity of the injuries. Joining the line shortly is the NPP chairman for Aguna West, Alhaji Jibril Tanko, to have a conversation on this. Good afternoon, sir. Well, we're trying to establish contact with Alhaji Jibril Tanko, but as and when we do establish contact with him, trust us, we will be bringing you more details on that. It's still election-related conversation. As we gear up to the election, we always want to ensure that there is peace and sanity. Away from that, let's do more stories where voting is currently underway across various universities in the country, as members of the University Teachers Association of Ghana UTAG are deciding on whether or not to stop their strike action against Galamsey, which began earlier this month. However, the University of Ghana chapter of UTAG has voted to reject the National Executive Committee's recommendation to suspend its strike over Galamsey. This decision follows the next directive on October 24 for UTAG members to end their industrial action by October 29, 2024. UTAG initiated the strike on October 10 in protest against the government's perceived inaction and illegal mining, which has had a devastating impact on the river bodies and forest reserves across the country. The strike has led a significant disruption of academic activities in various public universities nationwide. In its statements, the NEC encouraged UTAG members to return to classrooms, with tertiary students expected to resume classes on November 1, 2024. But in an election held at the University of Ghana chapter, 290 members voted for the continuation of the industrial action, while 226 voted to call it off. Actually engaging. We have Dr. Jerry Harrison on the line to help us on this conversation. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Hello. Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Jerry.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So what key considerations have you considered in this recent decision you guys have taken?
Well, I mean, UTAG is of the opinion that suspended the strike wouldn't have reached, or the reason for going on strike has not been met. And so our members overwhelmingly voted to say that we should continue the strike. And so bottom line, that is what it is. Other campuses are voting, and when the result is ready, we all know what the generality of UTAG members are saying.
So what does this mean going forward, sir?
Well, by close of today, we will know what all the other campuses are saying, and so then we can announce to the public what it is that they need to hear. But for now, what I'm saying is that UG voted not to suspend the strike, and so we are waiting for other campuses to vote, and then we can collate the results.
Well, we will come to you in a subsequent bulletin or broadcast for more details as and when the decision is being taken. We will also let our viewers know. Away from that, let's do more stories here where the Minister of Finance, Dr. Enim Adams, has indicated that the processes will be triggered to recall Parliament to approve pertinent government businesses.
We have submitted the renegotiated power purchase agreements to Parliament for consideration. We know that there are problems in Parliament. Somebody was asking me outside, how does the suspension indefinitely of Parliament affect the business of government? This is one of the effects that the suspension, this is one of the effects it will have on government business, because we were expecting that Parliament will approve this renegotiated agreements so that the settlement between us and Senate power and Amandi will come into force. But here's the case. Parliament is not in session. We continue to see that democracy is expensive. This is one of the costs of democracy, because we don't want to undermine parliamentary processes, but we also have conditions to meet in negotiations with your partners. So how do we strike the balance? This is why I want to support the call by the majority leader for Parliament to be recalled, so that we can continue to support the business of government.
Let's do some energy news where the finance minister has criticized Sonun Asogli Power for what he described as a bad faith in the company's decision to halt operations over a $259 million debt owed by the Electricity Company of Ghana. Dr. Mohammed Enim Adam explained that the government was in a process of negotiating an agreement to clear the debt when Sonun Asogli changed its stance on the payment terms, complicating the process.
But on Asogli, as you know, Ghana has a number of power plants that are generating electricity for the people. And so one power plant shut down does not mean the other plants are not generating. And this is why, in spite of the shutdown, we did not have shortfall. We continue to have surplus generation capacity. And so if one plant shuts down and the others continue to operate, it simply means that we have enough to supply to our people. And so this is what I can say about it. If you relate it to the IPP restructuring, we've really gone far. We negotiated with about 6 IPPs. The first 4, Senate, AXA, and then Car Power and Asogli. 2 of them we have signed on. We've signed the agreements, settlement, and they are operational, because they are not required to go to Parliament for approval. So Senate and AXA signed. We concluded the restructuring of them. The other 2, Asogli is one of them. Asogli submitted the final agreement for our review. We've reviewed it and we are fine with it, except one issue which led to them shutting down. I did not want to talk about that because they issued a statement. Let me also provide some further information on this. So, when the Ministry of Finance did one-off payments to all the IPPs, we're supposed to pay some $30 million. Later on, subsequently.
Meanwhile, Ghana has signed a $260 million deal with the World Bank to help solve the $1.2 billion energy sector losses and other inefficiencies in the sector. The deal under the energy sector recovery program comprises of a $250 metering credit procurement package and a $10 million clean cooking grant component in line with the bank's program for results initiative.
John, who asked the question during the IMF press conference, the IMF said the data reflected all the data, because they have a cut-off date by which all the data they need to do their analysis for the outlook should have gotten to them. And so that cut-off is April data. So what it means that we were still using April data, at which time our projection was to grow at 2.8% for the year. So even based on the April data, we will see that their optimism about the economy outperforming, our own original thinking was what was expressed in the outlook. By the time the outlook came, the economy half year has grown by 5.8%. And if you grow 5.8% half year, I don't see why end year should not give you more than 30% growth. And so it's not surprising that the fund has revised.
However, from this, let's do a quick turn. We are back with business.
That limited public service efficiency. Since then, we've revolutionized how services are delivered with the Ghana card and mobile money interoperability, enhancing speed and accessibility. Our efforts have greatly improved government interactions, making life easier for every Ghanaian. However, our vision doesn't stop here. We aim to further expand and modernize Ghana's digital landscape. The journey towards a fully integrated digital society continues. Stand with us. Vote for.
All be live.
Thank you, boss. See you next week. Yo, where is my passport? Where is my passport? Yo, man, I want to Waba.
What is that,
And then
Give me my passport. You made me pay for express for 24 hours, and yet it's not in.
You told me that you are telling me this. What's going on? Hello.
This man here has taken my money. That within 24 hours, he'll do my passport for me.
Oh, the same thing applies to me. He told me last night. He's telling me this week.
Process. That's what they do.
Yeah. Oh, madam. Please relax. I'll get for you in 24 hours.
Hey, Goroma. So you never change? You get passport for someone within 24 hours, Madam Obwa. See, the normal working hours is 9 to 5. Not 24 hours, I'm fat. You guys have made a very big mistake by trusting these people. Now, through digitalization, passport application has been made so easy. Now, you don't need to stress yourself and join any long queue for your passport. All you have to do is to log on to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website and begin your application. By buying a passport application voucher online. Simple and easier. And very soon, all you need to get your passport will be your Ghana card.
What is it true?
Yeah, Obiza. It is possible.
I didn't know.
You're welcome back. Let's do some business where Ghana has signed a $260 million deal with the World Bank to help solve the $1.2 billion energy sector losses in other inefficiencies in the sector. The deal under the energy sector recovery program comprises a $250 million credits metering procurements package and a $10 million clean cooking grant component in line with the bank's program for results initiative. Let's quickly go on to Zoom, where we have our correspondent over there, I should say, international journalist from Maryland, Della Michelle, for a conversation on the just ended meeting. Good afternoon from this end, Della.
Well, it's good morning from my end.
Absolutely, I'm fine. The meeting has ended. What more can you share with us, to our audience as well, after monitoring?
Well, you've been speaking about Ghana's outlook, but before we get into that, let's begin with the general global outlook that was announced during the meeting by Olivier. And he did mention that for the global economic outlook, it's looking pretty good. Inflation has been quite steady globally. They're looking at the rate of 3.2%, and it being stable in 2024 and into 2025. But he also projecting that we're going to see some domestic change there. If you quite remember, inflation was about 9.4 year on year. This was in 2022, of course, when the COVID era started, and then it all peaked. We saw major crashes in many economics across the country or across the world, I would say. So this projection actually is quite satisfactory for the IMF, even though they're expecting more to be done. They have what we call the outlook that is coming closer to that of the central bank, and that is what they are hoping for, that even developing countries and developed countries can meet these two targets. We also did touch on the fact that there are quite a number of issues that are still fighting inflation globally. He talked about the geopolitical conflict that is taking place. We all are aware of how the Middle East and Israel, Gaza, and Ukraine, and Russia, all these wars still continue to have a significant impact on our inflation and rates globally. And they are calling that leaders should rather take very pragmatic steps to ensure that some of these issues are addressed head on to give us, the relief that many of us are looking for globally. And also there's an increase in trade tension. We all do know how heavy many countries have become reliant on China and the USA, and that of Russia and Ukraine as well. So even though it's looking good, even though inflation is looking good, there are still a number of issues that they're expecting us to consider. And all these things were brought up during the meeting here in DC. Heads of states, or no, not heads of states, heads of ministries from different parts of the world all gathered here to talk about this. They also spoke about the debt sustainability, how they can be able to pay back their debt, how they can be able to have a positive outlook for their creditors as well, that is investors, foreign investors as well. They also spoke about the climate change and its importance. We have countries like Maldives, Barbados, and others trying to put in some kind of, realistic approach to solve climate changes that can actually help them in their economy. So these were the main issues that were discussed. For the USA in particular, their inflation rate is looking good for this year. They're actually at a 2.8% for this year. So globally, the IMF and the World Bank has shared their projection and satisfactory so far, but they are calling that major challenges that are still impeding the overall look that we want should be addressed.
Great, Della. Still be on standby. Let's let our viewers watch exactly what ensued during the DDEP sacrifices that the IMF and the World Bank in partnership with Ghana made. We'll be back shortly.
The domestic debt we did was a very painful exercise. We had to do that first to demonstrate our ability and our capacity to sacrifice the sacrifice of our people in biting part of the bullet before we went out to do the external debt restructuring. And so because of that, the bilateral creditors as well as our Eurobond holders saw Ghana's seriousness and readiness to change by first of all restructuring our domestic debt before coming to them. And so that brought them closer to us, and that helped with the negotiation. You cannot go to creditors and ask them for relief when you are not restructuring your own domestic debt. To put your benefits we have derived from this so far includes an outright debt cancellation of about $5 billion and another debt service relief of about $4.3 billion. And so between the bilateral creditors and the Eurobonds, you are talking about savings of about 12 billion US dollars. So we think this is a very great success. We are still having an outstanding restructuring with our commercial creditors involving about $2.7 billion. We are working very hard to conclude that. So far, I can say that we have been pretty successful. at our restructuring. The participation has been great, and we see ourselves moving on the path to that sustainability. Benefits we have derived from this so far includes an outright.
So the minister there has been speaking. First of all, I want to find out from you. I know you're not an energy expert, but I just quickly want to find out from you. How really does this actually play in terms of our energy sector? And listening to what the minister has been speaking about as well.
So we all quite know that energy sector has been going through a lot of challenges in the past few years, and especially when the minister had to highlight that this year alone, we lost or spent about 18 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to $1.8 billion in that sector, which he called that it is not, it's not a good look for us, So going forward, they're expecting to see that synergy in all the sectors, in the country. There, with this amount that you just mentioned, the $260 million that you mentioned, 250 being part of one of the programs, and then the 10 million being another program that is going to help the energy sector for the next 4 years. They're looking at making sure that we have access to smart, meters in the country. They're also looking that this will bring a number of job increase in the country. So yes, we do need a stable electricity. You even played earlier the issue that the minister was addressing during the press conference about Sogli and everything. So it looks like there's quite, should I say, optimism? Yes, there's quite a number of optimism in the sector by what the minister is saying. And so they are hoping that, of course, going forward, we're going to see a much better energy sector in the country. But what you played earlier too, this was when he was sharing the success story of Ghana's DDEP, because when you look at the African outlook, we had a growth of 3.1% for 2024 compared to 2.9% in 2023. And even though he has been successful, which you mentioned, the benefits, the African economists are still saying, at the IMF are still saying that much needs to be done, especially with the debt that needs to be cleared. So we've cleared some debt, but we still have more to clear. They are impressed about how fast we've been able to get to this point. 9 months compared to the typical 2 years that other African countries use. It's quite impressive, but there's more to be done.
Dela, I'm sure that they were benefit as well as with regard to the DDEP thing. But first off, let me also find out from you, how was the reception like after the minister, was eulogizing this whole thing that we are actually going to benefit from? How was the reception like?
I think that Ghana continues to be a beacon of hope for many developing countries. The respect that Ghana has is still incredible. Getting to see it firsthand amongst world leaders and world economists like this is something that puts you at ease. But of course, things like this, even though it puts you at ease, for us, for you and I, we want to see the money in our pockets, right? We want to feel the money, we want to feel the cash. So we will not really understand how these things play off, because again, they are not tangible returns for us yet. The tangibility of these returns is what is going to make us rest assured that yes, something is being done in our economy, it is thriving. But I would say that the Ghana's finance minister, and in fact the Ghana team that came, was really accepted well over here. The respect that I have seen being showed from the World Bank, from the IMF, from country directors, whenever Ghana is taking the press, center, the participation from even other African countries, the interest that other African countries has in our economy and how we are going, is just, I would say, it shows that we are moving in the right direction, right? But if we are not feeling it in our pocket, as an everyday Ghanaian, we are not able to tell. But I say it's in the right direction. Ghana, according to what we've seen, it's a positive outlook.
Absolutely. We're grateful for your time, Dela Michelle, and thanks for giving us an update over there. And so we also do have joining us is energy security analyst who has joined us, Mr. Sache Derek Emmanuel over there. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, my brother.
So, while you sit as an energy security expert, what do you make of this whole initiative?
About
Ghana actually inking another deal to stabilize the energy sector, please.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. The IES, from our point of view, what we think is that we could have gotten this at a cheaper price regarding the World Bank, the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact, of the $190 million that was cancelled because of the PDS deal. That was a free money to us. That was a grant that we're not going to repay or for anything. But we couldn't succeed with that, and we have to now go for a credit facility, which is more or less like a loan with a grant of just $10 million. And so we thought there could have been another alternative for securing such amount of money for the same kind of purpose. Because if you check, the Millennium Compact Challenge amount of $190 million, it was towards the same sector that it was the energy sector, to stabilize the energy sector, to ensure financial viability, and then increase the performance of ECG and then other private partnership in the sector. That could not be achieved. And so whilst we couldn't realize the functionality of the PDS deal, we have to now go to Parliament and secure another loan from the World Bank. And I thought that was more or less not good for Ghana, whilst we had another cheaper source of money.
What exactly are the potential risks and challenges associated with these, findings, sir?
Definitely, from the IMF point, from the World Bank point of view, that is a credit facility of $250 million. That was towards the energy sector. This money will be paid back because this one was approved by Parliament. But when you take the grant of the Millennium Challenge Compact of the $190 million, which was the second tranche, that was a grant that was not going to be paid. If you look at the second amount of money that has been approved, only 10 million of it is grant, which is not going to be paid back because grant more or less is like free money. But when you take the 250 million credit facility from the World Bank, that will be repaid. It will definitely have an interest payment. It will definitely have a cost, and that cost will be borne by Ghanaians. Whilst we could have done something better to achieve or maybe attract a grant amount of $190 million. So for us, anything towards the energy sector is good for it, yes, but what is the cost implication of it? Comparing a grant of $190 million to a cost of $250 million, which is a loan, which one would you have gone for? If it hadn't been our carelessness or our ingenuity in managing the affairs of the energy sector, specifically ECG, where we brought on board PDS and other things that happen regarding PDS, from condition precedence to insurance guarantee and a whole lot of other things. If those things were successful, we wouldn't have gone back to the IMF or to the World Bank seeking for a credit facility of $250 million. Probably this money would have been used for a different sector.
Derek, before I let you go, I just want to find out from you, would this be sustainable, or can this sustain Ghana's energy sector in any way, or we should embrace ourselves for an upcoming power outages soon?
Well, so far as the money will be put into a judicious use, then definitely the best performance from the energy sector is what we are all looking out for. And I know that this money definitely, with the right monitoring facility, with the right monitoring mechanisms, I'm sure that this money will be utilized very well. Because if you look at the energy sector, we've got issues to do with reducing the distribution losses, improving the financial capacity of ECG, and then ensuring that we also continue to reduce the operational and the transmission losses. These are things that got to do with revenue mobilization and how will we be able to inject capital into the sector to improve their performances. So now that we've gotten the capital to inject into the sector, then we hope that their performances will improve, their efficiency will improve, their operational challenges that they used to incur will be a thing of the past, and then the energy sector will have the needed recovery that we are all looking for, and that will also ensure that businesses and households, individuals can plan their activities very well.
Right, grateful for your time. And that was Derek Emmanuel Sache. He is a research and policy analyst with the Institute of Energy Studies. We're grateful for that over there. Away from that, financial analyst Patrick Bankwa has called on the government to set up a fund to support salary workers by collaborating with various associations to ease the burden on high interest customers bear when they access loans from financial institutions. In an interview on ABC in the morning, Bankwa highlighted that the high interest rate banks calculate on loans they give to customers burden them.
Government needs to set up a fund to support salaried workers, and they can actually do that through most of the bodies of these institutions. So, for example, you go to the banking industry, they have their mother body, which is the Ghana Association of Banks. So they can set up a fund through the association to be able to support people work in that industry. You go to the health sector, they also have their own body or union, that's where they have to be forming these soft loans to support people for the various units. But the point is that, is government even liquid to support some of these institutions with the money? At the moment, I don't think government is liquid. And that makes it difficult for the people. However, most of these institutions I've mentioned, they have groups that pay dues and all of that. So the dues that these institutions are paying are the dues that should be put into a fund so that they will support themselves. I know for like teachers, for example, they have that support system for the teachers. When they need some loan, they go for this loan from their teacher fund, and that's able to support them. If you're able to do for all other groups of employees, then that would be another source of support for these people.
Let's do some more stories here where the Executive Secretary of the Breast Society Ghana, Madam Georgina Kuma, has appealed for adequate mammogram equipment to aid in the fight against breast cancer. According to her, locals within the Tamale Teaching Hospital and some part of the Volta region do not have mammograms, making it difficult to curb or treat the patient. Speaking on ABC in the morning, Madam Georgina Kuma appealed to authorities to provide mammogram machines and establish a specialized breast cancer unit equipped with necessary facilities for proper treatment in the region. The situation compels patients to travel to the other regions or the nation's capital, Accra, for screening and treatment, creating significant inconveniences.
I work from, so I can speak for Kolebu. So that's one of the things where Society of Ghana is advocating on, for the cheap compounds to the infrastructure is there, the human resource there should be empowered so they can do the house to house, because that is where the community healthcare nurses are. So if they are trained enough, equipped enough, then we will be able to bridge that gap. But that is with a clinical breast examination. If it comes to mammogram, unfortunately, even the whole of Tamale Teaching Hospital, as we speak, does not have a mammogram. Come to think of a district hospital that might be in the Volta region somewhere. So, it's still a big problem beyond the clinical breast examination that I mentioned, even the community health nurse can do. If a lump is big and the individual in the rural area is to do mammogram, it will be a challenge. So if the person has to travel miles.
Away from that, let's do some election-related issues where the Electoral Commission has announced that Yasoko Press, one of the printing houses contracted to print the ballot papers for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary election, will no longer print ballot papers for this year. Yasoko Press was assigned to print the presidential and parliamentary ballot papers for the OT and Western region in the course of the week. The commission said the management of Yasoko Press indicated to the commission that one of their critical equipment for the printing of ballot papers had developed a fault. It was therefore agreed by both institutions that Yasoko should opt out of the printing of the 2024 ballot. The commission said it acted swiftly by relocating the OT and Western North regions ballot papers to Back Press and Act Commercials, respectively. Let's do some sports news shortly after this. And in sport, Manchester United has sacked manager Erik ten Hag. The 54-year-old Dutchman was informed on Monday morning and leaves Old Trafford after 2.5 years in charge, with his final game proving to be the Premier League defeat to West Ham United on Sunday. Rod van Nistelrooy will take charge on interim basis, with rest of staff remaining in position for now. Ten Hag was appointed in April 2022 and led the club to the to 2 domestic trophies, winning the Carabao Cup in 2023 and the FA Cup in 2024. Ten Hag survived a summer review by the club's hierarchy after an FA Cup final victory over rivals Manchester City in May. It came despite United ending last season in 18th place, their lowest ever Premier League finish, and crashing out of the Champions League before Christmas. But a series of bad results has seriously dented the side's start to the Premier League season. Before he was sacked, Erik ten Hag expressed frustration and disappointment with a team's recent performance and results, saying, and I quote, "Luck is not on the side, on his side." He made these comments after Manchester United's defeat to West Ham United in a post-match press conference. Ten Hag mentioned that his team created enough chances to win the match, implying that they were the better side, but ultimately lost. He drew parallels with the team's start to last season, stating that they turned the fortunes around and are determined to do so again this year.
In this moment, definitely the luck is not on my side. It's not about me. It's about the team, and it's not on our side. And last season was not different, but in the end we turned this around. And we are so determined it will be the same case today. But yeah, we have to turn this around, and it will turn around if we keep playing like we are playing now. We see in this block.
It's now time to do some international stories. The Rapid Support Forces, a parliamentary group in Sudan, has attacked a village in El Jazeera, a state, resulting in the death of at least 124 people. The incident marked one of the deadliest event in the ongoing 18-month conflict in Sudan. The attack, which occurred on Friday, October 25, 2024, was condemned by activists and humanitarian organizations. The Sudanese Doctors Union called on the United Nations to pressure both sides in the conflict to establish safe humanitarian corridor into villages that are facing genocide at the hands of the RSF. The RSF, which was born out of Arab militants mobilized by former President Omar al-Bashir against populations in Darfur, has been accused of committing atrocities including mass killings, rapes, and sexual violence. The group has been at war with the Sudanese military since April 2023. The conflict has already displaced over 11 million people and killed more than 24,000, with famine declared in July in the Zamzam camp for displaced people near Al-Fashar in Sudan's western Darfur region. And we wrap up with some entertainment. Do stay with us. In entertainment, Nigerian comedian Baskin Mouth has expressed his frustration with the growing trend of young comedians begging for money while performing on stage. In a recent podcast appearance, he urged up-and-coming comedians to desist from this practice. According to Baskin Mouth, this behavior is unprofessional and undermines the art of comedy.
For comedians, first tip, don't try to be like anybody else. Be like yourself. Nobody wants two of the same thing, right? And try as much as possible. For the comedians, yeah, this one again, if you people can stop, like, not all these new guys coming up, you guys can stop begging for money on stage, that would do us a little good. Like, just go on stage and perform. Just crack a joke and get the out. I'm sorry I'm using swear words, but I have to just say it because I'm pissed off with how you guys...
Well, quite some interesting advice from seasoned comedian Baskin Mouth over there. But that's how we wrap up this afternoon bulletin. My name is Eric Chunibwa Mello. For more news, do well to log on to www.abcnews.gh. And of course, you can also log on to our YouTube platform ABC News Ghana. It has been a pleasure coming your way. Do well to also join us same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Trusted source for news.
Midday budget review with some key allocations.
We are currently here at Kanisi.
When the news breaks, we are there. In the heart of matters arising, we follow through with the right question. Don't miss a beat with our in-depth news analysis. From breaking news, special feature stories, latest news, we bring you the stories that matter. Our team of immersed reporters bring you the news as it happens. Join us every 6 a.m., 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. each day for a comprehensive look at the stories beyond the headlines.
2 to 1.
You're watching ABC News GH.
ABC News GH, your trusted source for news.
Yampinisu bamu yeda yampinisu ne yampinisu china yampinisu choboy they toso no say me pese me di passport application ebeye mere ama obia ene upe passport agese uko fill form na wo the birth certificate ni documents bebre akoho na me share sa form no so me hu say for questions bia o mo bi se ni nyina e wo Ghana card no so enti from next year uwo Ghana card na upe passport fill form biom sa na ebetu ofi na ya print u passport ama fill form biom uwo Ghana card ya do passport ebema o choboy they are also driver's license. And that driver's license is valid for 6 years. 2 years just renew driver's license. 2 years